have about 6 books.
Yeah, we've shared some of them there.
This morning, I'm feeling like the lawyer I've dreamt to be, and so it took time. So, because when I see books, it's law, and so we are going to be going into that. But tell me about the issues of your fight as a human rights lawyer, and also what you're doing now. Do you still have time to chase these cases? Now that there are a lot of cases even against you, you still find time to fight for people?
I do.
You do?
I do. I mean, as I speak now, we have a number of cases on my desk.
Okay.
Particularly with respect to police killings. Yeah, most of the cases of police killings, I mean, are on my desk now. Some with petition Shuraj, some we are at the Human Rights High Court, some we've had indications from Attorney General of settlement, and we are trying to settle. Police stray bullets, blinding some people in one eye. I have recently actually slowed down in telling most of our stories. Otherwise, very, very recently, a case of Dorothy Apia, for example, who was a 12-year-old girl hit by a stray bullet and paralyzed. We just had about 1.2 million Ghana cedis judgment in her favor against the state. Even though the state has callously decided to appeal, but we are yet to really deal with all those issues that they raise, because really there's no basis.
I just counted that with what you have said. That's about 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, I have multiple of them. Yeah, multiple police killings, unlawful
killings. How do you do
killings.
this? Your job in Parliament, in the constituency, in court, some cases also against you?
Well,
you sleep.
I think that life generally is see, man is born free, but everywhere we are in chains. Yeah, we are in chains either by internal contradictions or external contradictions. Now I'm talking like a philosopher.
I know. I'm enjoying it. Go ahead, sir.
Either internal contradictions or external contradictions, and your ability to navigate, you see, these contradictions, for me, is what brings the impact you desire to see in society. Life is not just going to be laughing at everybody. Like the issues of general legal counsel. Look, it will never change unless there is an external resistance. Unless people rise and resist. Without the resistance, look, people naturally, in their natural state, are selfish, they are brutish, they are arbitrary. They want to do things that they feel and they believe must be done. And not until, there is a systemic way of checking them. And even when you have set the system, not until there are people who are willing to enforce that system, they will naturally be arbitrary.
I see. So there's enough time for impact. Let's start off with the books now. And that's the reason why he's here mainly. Love Lifted Me from the Streets. This is a story that we have heard you tell. Indeed, this is how we came to know you, and how you came, for me, into the limelight, to know that you went through stuff. Is this finally what encompasses everything that you've gone through?
Well, Love Lifted Me shares my story, actually from basic school all the way to the, if we like, senior high school. And I wrote this book when I was a second-year student at a law faculty. That was when I wrote this book. And I had this book launched at the University of Ghana, then attended by Dr. Vladimir Chidansu. So he's one of those who have recommended the book. Mr. Fred Asari, who is a director of Village of Hope himself, and Mr. Kono, Alfred Kono, the former registrar of University of Ghana, and many more people who have read the book, Tommy Draining from the USA, and so many other people who have actually looked at the book. This is a revised edition of the book, which has equally been now revised by His Eminence, Archbishop Duncan Williams, and His Eminence, Ajinasari, and several others who have actually reviewed the work now, looking at the story of grace, how grace found me, how love found me. I could have been gone by now. I could have been in prison. I could have been an armed robber. Anything could have happened to me. So this is what gives me the power to show love. And you see, love is sacrifice. So it doesn't matter whether people repay you with the same love. If you have love, you will continue to give love, regardless of how people mistreat you. And so the power and the strength, the tenacity to continue to love people, to continue to be good to people, despite the limitations and all that, flows out of the love I received from the Village of Hope Orphanage and the Church of Christ.
I see.
You know, so that is what basically I've shared in Love Lifted Me from the Street. And every young person, even, old people, people who are in position of counseling, teachers, people who are depressed, people who are worried about life, how life will turn out, who are growing out of struggles. When you read this book, definitely, you will find some light pointing you to that future.
This is what His Eminence Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams wrote, his presiding Archbishop and General Overseer, Action Chapel International. This book shows the incredible power of God to raise destiny helpers and make a way for all who diligently seek Him from the depths of their hearts. Francis' life is a unique manifestation of God's phenomenal power. A miraculous read. I recommend this book to anyone in need of similar expression of God's power. Have you met people that you were on this, in this struggles with at the time, in recent times, and how they have also turned out?
I have met quite a number of them, and it's a sad story, for them. Let me say that, particularly those that I lived with immediately at the Malata market, there was one entire family that had been wiped off the face of the earth.
Why?
And that is really sad. And I always share that story with a lot of emotions because I saw them. We lived together. We ate together. We cooked together. Initially, we were in a small ghetto near Malata Market. When we got evicted from that place, we came to the Malata Market where we're now living in the Malata Market. So in the night, we cook and we eat together. Now, when I was adopted by the Village of Hope, I was no more living in the Malata. So I always come to check how they were doing. The dad got ill with some sickness I don't really remember now. Then with some time, he just passed away. So we're all we kept consoling them. Along the line, something just happened, and then their mom also just died. And these were two guys with me that were living together. Then the little one, his name was Kweku by that time. After the BEC, in fact, I was trying to struggle to get him also to the Village of Hope. So I was trying to recommend him. It was quite unsuccessful. Then I heard that he was doing car wash, got electrocuted, and also died. Ooh. So the reality of living on the street and struggling and surviving is something that lives with me every day. And the very last one, depressed by the situation, has never been able to recover from, those situations. And there were many people too I lived on the street with that during the Justice for All program, I saw them in prisons because I had gone to almost all prisons in Ghana and represented in excess of over 800, I think. Several hundreds of people in prison. And as I go and we see people on remand, I always see them. And there are people who introduce themselves to me that, Newtown. Some will say, at St. John's Grammar, things like that. So these are realities. Sometimes today when you share these things, people feel like, he's just telling some story. But trust me, my life could have been anything else. But for love.
Let's talk about the next one, which is homeless. And I want to ask this question. Wherever you came from, where were you born?
Newtown, Accra Newtown, Vic's maternity, yes.
Okay. So for a lot of people, we had migrated from where we were born from. For some of us, in Ho, in the Volta region. And so if I were to land on the street and then go through struggles like this, I might end up maybe in the prison or somewhere else. But then again, people came in and also have better lives. Between staying there and having a life and coming here to struggle somewhat in very dangerous ways, what would you want to say about that? Urban migration.
I think that in fact, the issue of urban migration is a stark reality that we cannot do much about until there is equitable distribution of the national resources. Until people are able to see that they can still make it where they are, it will be very difficult for them not to migrate. Very recently, one of I think it was my constituency communication officer, was taken very, very ill. And he had to move all the way to Sandama And as a member of parliament who is serving me and all that, I needed to at least show him love. So I traveled from Accra all the way to Sandema. And as I traveled through the villages, then I understood the reality of the Kayaye living in Medina. Honestly, if I were living in any of those villages, I won't live there.
I'll come to Accra.
In fact, let me come and die in Accra than die with hunger, lack of opportunity, deprivation, and so on and so forth. I'd rather come and die here. And in any event, it is more risky not to take risk anyway. So for me,
you are eventually going to die there with the situations
anyway,
that are
so why live
there
and kill myself? And that is a reality. And I'm not going to stay here and say that, oh well. So all this Kaya here, you say you are trying to reintegrate them where? Where she would live? I mean, I've seen the type of buildings there, the heat there, the lack of opportunity. And I mean, if you train the person even in sewing, where is she going to sew? Where is she going to get the customers? Where are they? Because the population is very sparse. And historically, many have already migrated here. So what are you, if you say you are sending her back, you've done nothing. What you should do is to have social havens here, which guarantee at least minimum, subsistence for them.
That's in the interim.
The interim.
Once you cannot share the national cake
so that in your medium to long-term goals, you then, you open up the space and make sure that you have more state resources invested in social infrastructure in those parts of the world. In fact, that is part of the recommendations in the book Homeless.
So the whole